You won't believe what I found wiggling all over my raised bed last Tuesday morning. I went out with my coffee, ready to check on my tomatoes like I do every single day, and the soil was moving. Not the plants. The soil itself. Hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of fat, happy earthworms had taken over my garden bed overnight. Now if you're new to gardening, your first thought might be get them out of there. But stick with me for the next few minutes, because what I'm about to show you is the exact opposite of a problem. This is actually the moment every gardener dreams about and doesn't even know it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what I planted that pulled every earthworm in the neighborhood straight into my garden, and how you can make it happen in your own backyard too, even if you've never grown a single thing in your life. Stay with me, because what happens at minute 6 is going to change the way you look at your garden soil forever. Well, hello there, my wonderful garden family. If this is your first time joining me here on Evergreen Garden Tips, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so glad you found your way to this little corner of the internet where we keep gardening simple, affordable, and honestly, a whole lot of fun, especially for those of us who are past 60 and just want our hands in the dirt without breaking the bank or breaking our backs. And to my regulars, my returning friends who show up every single week, you already know how much I appreciate you. You're the reason this channel keeps growing, and today's video might just be one of my favorites yet. Before we dig in, if you're new here, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. It's completely free, and it means you'll never miss a tip that could save you time, save you money, or save a struggling plant in your garden. Now let's get into it. Segment 1. Why earthworms showing up is the best news you'll get all season. Let me tell you something most garden blogs won't tell you straight. Earthworms don't just show up because your soil is wet. They don't just show up because it rained. They show up because your soil suddenly became a 5-star restaurant and something you planted was the invitation. See, earthworms are picky eaters. They don't move toward danger, and they definitely don't move toward soil that's boring or empty. They move toward food, moisture, and softness, all at the same time. So when I tell you my raised bed was swarming, understand this wasn't luck. It was the direct result of 3 things I planted on purpose, and I'm going to walk you through every single one, plus the exact way I planted them so you can copy this in your own garden this week. And stick around, because tip number 2 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it's honestly the real secret behind that whole swarm. Segment 2, the first plant, Comfrey, the quiet giant. The first thing I planted was Comfrey. Now if you've never heard of Comfrey, don't worry, because most beginner gardeners haven't either, and that's exactly why it works so well as a secret weapon. Comfrey has roots that dive down deep, sometimes 8 to 10 feet into the ground. What that means is it's constantly pulling nutrients up from way below the surface where your other plants can't reach, and dropping them near the top through its leaves. When those big fuzzy leaves fall or get chopped and dropped onto the soil, they break down incredibly fast, almost like they're melting into the ground. And earthworms absolutely lose their minds over decomposing Comfrey leaves. Here's my simple trick. I don't even wait for the leaves to fall naturally. Every few weeks I cut a few of the outer leaves myself, lay them flat right on top of the soil around my other plants, and within days, sometimes even within 24 hours, you'll start to notice the soil underneath looking darker, softer, and more alive. If you're on a budget, and I know most of us watching are, Comfrey is a one-time purchase that keeps giving. You buy or propagate it once, and it comes back year after year, feeding your soil for free. Segment 3, the second plant, Clover, the underground worker. The second thing I planted, and this one surprises people every time, is a simple white clover. Most folks think of clover as a weed. I used to think that too, until I learned what it's actually doing under the surface. Clover pulls nitrogen straight out of the air and stores it in little nodules on its roots. When those roots eventually break down, that nitrogen becomes food, real food, for the microorganisms in your soil. And where there's food for microorganisms, earthworms follow right behind, because worms are basically eating the leftovers of that whole underground buffet. I planted clover in the pathways between my raised beds, not even inside the beds themselves. It spreads on its own, it needs almost no care, and it slowly feeds nitrogen into the surrounding soil every time it's stepped on or trimmed back. It's one of the laziest, cheapest tricks in gardening, and it works quietly in the background the entire season. Now before I show you the third thing I planted, the one that honestly caused most of that swarm, I want to ask you something. Drop a comment below and let me know, have you ever seen earthworms take over your garden like this before? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your garden stories. And if this video is teaching you something new, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more beginner gardeners just like you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time, because next week I'm sharing another simple trick that helped me cut my garden spending nearly in half. Alright, let's get back to it. Segment 4, the third plant, Daikon radish, the soil breaker. Here's the one nobody expects. Daikon radish. Most people plant daikon radish thinking about the vegetable itself, maybe for the kitchen. But I plant it almost entirely for what happens underground. Daikon radish has this long, thick, almost drill-shaped root that pushes straight down through compacted soil, breaking it apart as it grows. Once that root eventually breaks down after harvest or after it dies back, it leaves behind a tunnel, a soft, open channel running deep into the earth. Guess what moves straight into those tunnels? Earthworms. It's like I built them a highway. They travel through those loosened channels far easier than through hard-packed soil, and because the decomposing radish root is sitting right there, it's food and shelter in one single spot. This is the plant that really turned my raised bed into that wiggling, swarming mess of happy worms I showed you at the very beginning. Segment 5, the one mistake that undoes all of this. Now here's something important, because I don't want you to do all this work and then accidentally chase the worms right back out. Earthworms hate two things more than anything else: dry soil and chemical fertilizers. If you're spraying synthetic fertilizer on your beds, even the good-smelling ones, you could be pushing worms away faster than Comfrey, Clover, and Daikon can attract them. Worms breathe through their skin, and harsh chemicals actually burn them. So if you want them to stay and multiply, skip the synthetic stuff and lean on natural compost, aged manure, or simple kitchen scraps buried a few inches under the surface. Segment 6, why this actually matters for your garden. Here's the bigger picture, and this is the part one really want you to remember. Earthworms aren't just wiggly little bonus creatures in your garden. They're free labor. Every single day, they're aerating your soil, breaking down organic matter into nutrients your plants can actually absorb, and improving drainage so your roots don't sit in soggy, suffocating soil. In other words, a garden full of earthworms is a garden that needs less from you. Less fertilizer, less watering, less fighting with hard compacted dirt. For those of us gardening on a budget, especially in our 60s and beyond when we want less back-breaking work, not more, this is exactly the kind of shortcut nature gives you for free, if you know how to invite it in. So there you have it, the exact 3 things I planted that brought my raised bed to life, quite literally, with earthworms. Comfrey for deep nutrients, Clover for nitrogen, and Daikon radish for those soft underground tunnels that invite them right in. If you try even one of these this season, come back and tell me how it went in the comments, I truly want to know. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with a gardening friend who could use this tip. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I'll see you in the next one.